here with Jon Leake. Is that how you say it? Leake?
Yeah, Leak.
Leak?
Most people know me as Leaky.
Leaky. Jon Leaky on Instagram. That's how I know you. On Instagram, I've been following you for quite a while. I fell in love with your mini, and I would love to talk
Thank you.
about it today. And you just got back from a show, right?
Yeah, I literally just about 2 minutes ago got back through from Bewley Mini Day down in the New Forest. So it's not actually
Da-
that far away. Like I live in Hampshire, and the New Forest is in an hour away. But the mini club, we might have found a pub to go to on the way home.
Nice. What mini club are you part of?
Basingstoke Mini Club.
All right, all right. I wouldn't know, but just maybe for people that are looking for one. I don't know. That's fun. Cool. Well, I appreciate you being on, man. This is a special episode. It's episode number 25. So I feel like that's
Oh,
some sort of
nice.
milestone, I guess.
That's an achievement. That's an achievement.
So you're special, man. You're lucky number 25. Keeping this rolling here. But yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, so anyways, like I said, Jon Leakey on Instagram. I've been following you for a while, and I'm curious. I was kind of doing a deep dive, getting ready for the show, and just looking at the Instagram, and it seems like you've kind of been in the mini game for a while, at least from what I could tell on the Instagram. But tell
Yeah.
me, kind of how you got started, what attracted you to the mini.
Um. So basically, I mean, I've had my Mini now since 2009. I bought it when I was well, I learned to drive in it. Basically, I got it when I was 16. Learned to drive in it. Um, what got me into the minis was I just had a toy one as a little pull back and go toy one as a kid. I always used to play with it, and I was sort of obsessed with it. And I still have it now. I thought I'd lost it, and then when my mum was doing some gardening years ago, she dug something up, and it was like buried in the garden. So I was, this still sat in her garden on the wall. But basically, that was it. I had a toy one. Um, Mr. Bean as well. I used to watch a lot of that as a kid. Um, the Italian Job, obviously. Once I sort of got into minis, and I used to really like them. My parents were like, you'll really like this film. You should watch this. And yeah, the usual sort of way, really. I used to see my dad had a job working on the M40, and when I was really young, the days I'd go to work with him, I used to see car transporters with new ones coming out of the Longridge factory. Obviously, they were still being made back in the sort of 90s. And yeah, I used to see new ones come out on car transporters, and I don't know, always just end up spotting them and shouting, "Oh, Mini!" when I'm out and about, and that was it really. Just for as long as I can remember, I wanted a Mini.
So back in the 90s, you actually saw like the 90s Rover minis being produced.
Yeah, yeah. You used to see them coming out the factory and down on car transporters with, like mixed with metros and all sorts of other stuff that Rover were producing at the time. But yeah, I remember seeing them coming out, coming down the motorway and on car transporters and stuff.
You might have seen mine then. I don't know.
Possibly.
That's pretty crazy for me to think about. Growing up in the United States and in Texas, I never saw them outside of films, and I was lucky to travel abroad to Europe and England and stuff like that and see them, but I can't imagine, I can't comprehend that. I'm like, wait, what? Like, actually saw brand new ones coming out of the
No, no,
factory,
they weren't classics. They were new
still in
cars. I mean,
production.
yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Okay, so did you say your dad just had a job that was near there? He didn't
Yeah, so
necessarily he
basically
didn't work on them.
the M40 for anyone not in the UK runs from basically London all the way up to Birmingham,
Gotcha.
and anything coming out of Birmingham going down to London way or being outward in, exported to the docks will come down the M40. So even now you see all the car transporters of things coming down there. Or down the A34 now you see the car transporters of the new BMW Minis coming out of Oxford down to Southampton and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
That's funny. That's cool. Okay, so did your dad like minis or cars, or you just kind of like you had this toy? They gave you
like
this toy.
so no, really, like no one. my dad or my grandparents, none of them have had classic cars. They were into cars. My
Huh.
dad has had a couple of minis, but they were
Right.
just his car back in the the 70s whenever he was, and he had those. Um, no one in my family really have sort of an interest in classic cars. I just always wanted a mini. I got one basically just to because when I needed a first car to learn to drive in, minis were still, I wouldn't say they were throwaway, but they weren't far off it. I mean, my red mini cost me £640,
Wow.
um, and that was with 7 months MOT and tax on it. Back when you could buy a car that still had tax on it, and that is, I mean, that's unheard of nowadays. It was loads of my friends had minis as first cars because they were cheap cars, and I remember back then, about 7 or 8 of us all having classic minis and just racing around, chasing after each other like we're in the Italian job because you could do it then because people just bought them as cheap cars to learn to drive in. But those days are long gone now. They're proper
Yeah.
collector's items.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's turning into a definitely a not a cheap hobby like it seems to once used to be. I mean, like I've mentioned it on the podcast several times, but my first mini I got I mean this is within the last, I guess, within 10 years. I think I've had it, 6, 7, 8 now. I forget what, but I traded it for a motorcycle that I got for free on Craigslist. So, like there's deals like that. And then I found a Cooper S a year or two ago, 67 Cooper S in, a town and 2 hours away from me. The guy sold it to me for $1,500. So, that doesn't happen that often, but if you kind of hold out, but those were just projects on projects. So
mm,
getting a running driving one now is difficult for a good deal, right?
mm. I said, what normally, like I said, most people I'm sure have their parents or whatever have classic minis, and that's how they get into it. Whereas mine was the opposite way around. I was 16, 2008. I started looking for a mini. I think I bought it. I can't remember if it was end of 2008 or the start of 2009. And I decided this is what I was going to buy. So I bought it. I got it for when I was 16 and then 17, learned to drive in it. But I still couldn't take it to most shows once further away where you had to go down motorways. Because as a learner in this country, you can't go on motorways. So my dad used to drive me to mini shows in it, and that kind of got him into it. So he actually has a mini traveller now that he's been restoring. So
Okay, I saw
it
that.
was sort of reversed. I got him into minis rather than rather than him getting me into minis.
Oh, that's fun. That's cool. Yeah, I saw on your store or in your Instagram, you post every once in a while the traveler that he's kind of restoring. Maybe we'll jump into that later. But it's interesting to me how you got into minis kind of by yourself, maybe some shows, whatever it is, but you developed this style. And I don't know if you realize it, but somebody like me looking at your mini or minis rather, you have a very unique style. You have like this very, kind of classic, I wouldn't say necessarily like some period correct stuff, obviously, but it's like this unique style that I feel like you would have learned from somebody kind of growing up. How did you kind of come about that, and if you even realize it?
I don't think I do realise it. But I really like an auto jumble, and I've over the years of reading the mini forum. I used to be back big into the mini forum back when forums were a thing before Facebook killed those off. And I used to
Right.
just see sort of I used to love reading people's build threads, and
Yeah.
I used to learn a bit about unusual models. So like you got the mini specials that have the quarter light opening quarter lights, and I was like, oh, I like those. And so I sort of always had these sort of things that I'd sort of read about and liked. And if I saw them at an auto jumble, I'd like, oh, I have those. So I've just got yeah, my mini's not. I mean, it's just a bitzer, I suppose. It's a bits of everything, but there's a few Innocenti bits on there and a few other unusual bits. But it's not styled or inspired by anything really. It's just bits I found and bits I quite like. It wasn't. it's nothing special. It's just an '80s Mini City at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point, I guess. And my dad liked cars. He didn't necessarily, own or tinker with classic cars. My uncle was really big into, um, British cars and stuff like that. So I guess I had it in the blood a little bit, but I didn't grow up around him. So what you said about the forums and the build threads, it's we easily forget. But I guess yeah, I remember looking at mini build threads. I'm like, man, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. And it's easy now for somebody that maybe wants to build a mini. You can scour Instagram and kind of you look at a car like yours and emulate it. I guess I have people every so often like, oh, where did you get that? Where did you get that? Where did you send me links? I'm like, well, I don't really necessarily have links.
Yeah,
I've just
I get that a lot.
collected parts, right?
Yeah, I had someone the other day
I'm
asking where they could get the tash like around the grill because that's an inner city one. I was like, I bought that from an auto jumble. I, I can't remember what country I was in. I think it might have been Belgium because I like doing the international mini meetings. So if you go to like mainland Europe, you can get much more sort of cooler bits from the models that they didn't sell over here. And I'm
huh.
just like, look, you can't buy these. You have to go digging for them. You have to go looking for it. And I quite like it. It's part of the fun having a good
Yeah.
trawl through an auto jumble.
For sure, for sure. I'm pretty sure I've hit you up before. I think I asked about the little cup holder thing, basket thing in the middle of your car. I was like, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
So that's actually out of a Volkswagen Beetle, believe it or not. I just chopped. It just needs a little bit chopped out the bottom of it, and so it fitted under the heater. But yeah, that's just out of a Beetle. They're quite
Yeah,
easy to
yeah.
get hold of.
See that's what I'm talking about. Your style, you have, some interesting things. And for those that, maybe don't follow you, if I follow you, I feel like everyone does. I mean, you have a pretty big following, but for those that don't know, go look on Instagram, Jon Leaky, Leaky. But for those that don't know, tell us a little bit about at least your Red Mini, and we'll jump into the Clubman later. You have some unique features about it that we've already talked about, but you obviously have, like you said, auto jumble and stuff like that. But give us a little breakdown of it.
So, like I said, it was bought as just a 1983 Mini City E, enough MOT to get me on the road. I mean, it was the same color. I didn't want a red Mini actually. When I was to buy a Mini, I thought everyone has a red Mini. I was adamant I was going to get a silver one or a purple one. And then yeah, I put a low bid on that one on eBay, thinking I'd get outbid. I think I bid like £700. Didn't, and that's how I ended up buying it purely by accident. But it was your average Mini basically. It was a red Mini. It had black 12-inch mini lights and stuff on it. And being a student when I got it on the road, I didn't have much money for it, and that's how it stayed for the first few years. And then yeah, I kept patching up for MOTs and stuff, and then eventually decided I would take it off the road, do it properly, um, and that's when I started putting some of the putting some of the bits I found from auto jumbles and stuff in it. And yeah, but I mean that's really it. It just sort of evolves as I found bits. I didn't really when I restored it have an end picture in my mind that I wanted it to look like. It's just as I found something, I think, oh yeah, actually, I think that would work. And I guess a lot of it's come together by accident, really. Um, but yeah, now it's just listen. It's painted its original color. It's cinnabar red. Um, it's got some current wheels. I'm a bit of a wheel collector. I've got quite a few sets of weird 10-inch wheels, but it's currently got SSR split rims. I think they're called Formula. I can't remember if they're called Formula Star or Formula Mesh. I think they might be called Formula Mesh. Um, 10 by 5 inch uh, on it, so they poke out a little bit because I don't run arches. Yeah, I've got Innocenti windows with opening quarter lights, an Innocenti mustache, and then the grill is just an 11. I think it's 11 slat. I can't remember off the top of my head. 11 slat. I think Austin Cooper grill, which I just chop down some of the slats so it would fit inside the Innocenti um, mustache. Um, the interior has got that's in tan and tweed. I had that done by Optimize Automotive years and years ago now. They're probably they're the company to go for if you want your interior done. I can't recommend them enough. I've been using them pretty much ever since I've had minis. To be honest with you, since I remember them starting up on again on the mini forum, which is how I found them. Um, the only thing they didn't do is the headlining, so I got custom headlining in it with sort of pin-up girls on the top of it. Um, that was made by a friend of mine and then sent to a trimmer that he knew to be done. Um, yeah, really, it's just. I mean, it's nothing. I don't think it's the car isn't anything too out there or mad. Like you see some of the stuff they do. Some people do. They have proper out there crazy mods. As I've tried to go the other way, so I've cut the front number plate bracket off. I've got no wing mirrors on it, and I've tried to go for a sort of a cleaner, simpler look, but with just unusual bits. So when I've been out before, other than the wheels, which look a bit, you can tell they're not standard. I've had some people before go, "Oh, it's nice to see one so not original or looking so nice, like non-mini people." Because if you're not into minis, you do not, you won't notice half the modifications on it because it's just,
Right.
um, you know, what I mean, they're really like mini nerdy like bits that are on it.
Right.
For anyone that just doesn't know minis, it's just a you know an orangey red looking mini, and that's kind of what I wanted to go for. I wanted it to be sort of a bit understated. It doesn't need to be in. It doesn't need to be too wild.
And I think that's what I love about it too. It's one of those that it's just super clean. Obviously, okay, for me personally, I know minis well, so I immediately like, okay, it's been modified because you can tell by the wheels. And then but it's not like outlandish like you see a lot of these builds now. They're throwing every part at it possible, and that's why I kind of said, period correct parts and that kind of stuff is because it doesn't look like a bunch of new parts from mini spares or something like that.
No.
But the closer you look, you're like, oh, it's an Innocenti grill. Like, oh, it's got like the Japanese center
Oh yeah, got
rear
a
view
center mirror on it.
mirror, and it's like the headliner. The headliner is super cool. When I saw that, I was like, damn, that is mine. Doesn't have a headliner. I might copy that because that thing's so cool. I love that kind of pinup girl style. Um, but yeah, I mean, you the closer you, it's the car that if you saw at a show, for me, the closer you look, the more you look, you're like, oh, there, look at that, oh, look at that, oh, look at that, and it's just very clean, well done. So kudos to you. I absolutely love it. Where did you get? What is it? A mini thing? Is it something you adapted like the Beetle thing, the little like accordion window looking thing that just looks super cool and retro for some reason?
Oh, so they're basically they're dog guards. They are the cheapest dog guards you can get on eBay. When you buy them, they come with some dog brand written on them, like canine dog window guard thing on them. That got sanded off, so they were just all black. And yeah, they just pop in the windows. But obviously, on a normal mini that doesn't have the quarter lights, they look a bit weird because they just fit at the top, and then you have the
Yeah,
sort of you'd have a gap. But because I've got the quarter lights, it means I have just a clean rectangle gap at the top of the windscreen. So they suit it. They fit on it quite nice. But yeah, they are like £6 or whatever on eBay. They are the cheapest thing going. But
but that's what I'm talking about because when you look at your car, you would never notice like, oh, I think that's like some cheap thing off of eBay. It just works, and that's what I was surprised when I was expecting like, oh, my dad was into it or something, but the style of your mini and what you do, it complements everything, and you can kind of keep adding little bits, little bits, little bits, and it doesn't look overwhelming, and it just it looks, I can't say how great it looks. I absolutely love it.
thank
So
you.
that's fantastic.
It's always
Super
nice
cool.
when people say stuff like that because it wasn't built for anything. It's just built
Yeah.
really to please me. Like it doesn't. I'm not bothered what anyone else thinks about it. But it is always nice when people think that. It's mainly there to sort of please my wanting for digging through auto jumble and finding weird bits and fitting on. That's the whole point of the car. Really, is. It doesn't. It does. It photographs nice. I'll be honest. I painted it myself with a the help of a good friend of mine, Ben. in a week before a car show. Stupidest idea I've ever had.
I
But
remember that.
it's had two paint jobs previously, and they're both supposed to be mini specialists. They
uh,
both done. One did a rubbish job, and then it went to someone else, and he did a rubbish job over the top of a rubbish job. And I was thinking, I reckon I can do this. I said I'll try my hand at most things. But how hard can painting a car be? I just do it a week before Players Show at Goodwood is when I tried to do it. And
right.
what I learned is it's a lot of work to paint the car, especially because I had to take mine to bare metal because I needed to get rid of two terrible paint jobs, so I knew it wouldn't, so it would last. It wouldn't react with the rest. And yeah, I was working a late shift at work as well. So that week I was working from 11 to 8, 11 in the morning to 8 at night. So what I was doing is getting up at about 5, going to my mate's body shop. He let me have a key, his little unit, sanding it down until about 10 o'clock, leaving, going to work for 11 o'clock, finishing at 8 o'clock, getting back to the unit till about 1, 2 in the morning, sanding it down, going home to sleep for like 2, 3 and a half hours, and getting back up and doing it again. And I did that all week and just about got it done.
Wow.
So for the show, I was meeting a lot of friends down there because we were staying at a hotel, and we had dinner booked at a table for like 8 o'clock on Friday evening. I think
Mhm.
9:20, I was still at my mate's unit putting the headlights back in, and then yeah, drove it down there. By which point everyone was in bed. I couldn't even get any dinner. I'd not eaten all day, and I was like, well, I just got some snacks from the hotel vending machine and went to bed. And that was about it basically, and then got it to the show the next morning.
That's epic. Yeah, I remember. I thought it was you when I was gonna ask that question, but because I remember it was a year or two ago, right?
Yeah, it was 2021. It was Players 21. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
I remember that, and I was like watching the progress on the story every once in a while. I was like, damn, that's awesome.
it was. I mean, it was the stupidest thing I've ever done. We had a few bits. So um, I mean, it looks okay. The paint job. It looks a lot better than the two professionals they did. But when my mate was having a paint on it, the end of the gun blocked, and it fired paint out the top of the old can. So there's a few sort of on the roof, a few sort of drops and stuff on it, and a bit run down the door. And we tried to polish it out. But I saw him
Yeah,
yesterday actually, and he says we need to repaint your car. I'm like, it's all right. He goes, no, 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 because it's sort of he is a painter as a that's what he does for a job. He actually
right.
paints McLarens,
Oh
but
wow.
he has his own little on in the factory, and he has this little unit. It's just like a little hobby thing, and I basically said that I want to sort of do as much of it myself, but you just give me a lot of pointers, and he helped me a lot with it. But yeah, he saw it the other day. Goes, no, no, we need to repaint that, and I'm sort of fine with it because I don't do show and shines. I don't do concourses. I'm driving around a muddy campsite, you know, a mini show and stuff. I'm not into the whole super clean look. It's tidy and it's usable, and I'm not
Right,
overly precious with it. But because it's what he does for a job, and he's a perfectionist, and it's been in his unit. He wants it to his
right, right.
standard. I'm quite happy with it, but he said to me the other day, we need to repaint that again. So I'm sure we'll have another paint job at some point
That's why.
because he
That's
wants
why I
he
never
wants to
went.
do it properly.
Yeah, that's why I never went down that rabbit hole, and that's why mine looks how it does. But it works. I try to keep it clean, but one of these days I'm itching to get a paint job on it. I don't know. Nothing like you said, nothing fancy because I drive the piss out of it. But
Yeah.
so it sounds like you've done majority of the work on your car. You said you bought it back in 2008 or 9. What all kind of really needed to be done to it? Did it need any panel replacements? Did you do any
Um.
welding on it? Did you have
So
to, help of any shops or anything like that?
it's had a front end on it. It's had sills and floor pans, and that's pretty much all it's done. And my mate Will, again, he lives just down the road. He did it for me basically. It needs. I want to put another front end on it, and a lot of people going, "Haven't you just restored it?" I said, "No, I've just painted it." And they're like, "Well, why would you not have done that first?" And I was like, "Well, I just, this paint job was just sort of a practice to see if I could do it."
Right.
It could do with another front end doing. The flitch panels are really crusty, so I think it might. The end of this year, I might do a bit of bit more work to it, but it's not had any welding done since I think 2012. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean that's 10 years now when you think about it. So that
I
is
know, isn't that
it's
crazy?
it's mad how time goes. It's definitely probably considering I've driven. I do IMMs in it. I've been abroad in it. I've been around track days and stuff on it. The hill climbs that Retro Rides meets. I mean, I've
Wow.
driven it. It lives outdoors as well. Like it doesn't sit in a garage. It's not a garage queen. It lives outside all year round. I don't put a cover over it.
Oh, wow.
It's it's a car at the end of the day. Like I said, I've never been overly precious with it. It's
Yeah.
anything can be repaired or fixed. It's just metal at the end of the day, isn't it? So,
Yeah, yeah. I like that style too. I have a garage, but it's not, I don't necessarily baby the cars like they're just, I want to drive it. So I'm going
yeah,
to
no,
drive it, and I'm not overly washing it. I keep it clean, but I think it treats you better if you, kind of just
you
treat it
use
as
it
a
a lot.
car.
Yeah,
You
I
use
mean
it and it,
for 10 years, minis were my only car. I dailied them. It's from I said when I passed my driving test in 2000, late 2009, up until it was IMM 2019 actually. It was literally about 2 weeks after the IMM in Bristol over here that I actually went and bought a new car. Well, not a new car. I just went and bought a modern car.
right.
The only reason I decided to do that is because I started driving lorries or trucks because I don't think you call them lorries over in America. But
No.
um, and basically, yeah. So I started driving. I'd been driving it to and from work for ages, but I was parking it in a lorry yard and it's just dusty. And I was thinking I'd clean it for a show, take it to a show, whatnot. Drive it to work, park it, and then the inside would be dusty because the seals, they're crap in minis. So dust would
Right.
come inside. I was always worried someone wouldn't see it late night and reverse a lorry over the top of it. And I thought, well, I'm just gonna get. I just bought a little MG as a run round. But yeah, from up until 2019, minis were the only my only car. Obviously, I've got two of them. One of them was always on the road at some point, and yeah, I dailied them. So
How is
yeah,
that juxtaposition, if you will, between driving a mini and then driving a lorry for work? Like,
yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
it's completely opposite ends of the spectrum. Really, it's
That's
usually
funny.
what I do is because obviously my mini hasn't got a servo or anything, so you have to really press the brake pedals to get it to stop. It's the
Yeah.
harder you press, the quicker you stop. So I'll be doing that, and maybe
Yeah, I've never
especially if I've had a
actually
week off
driven
and
one
not.
with a servo.
So yeah, once I've had say a week off and I've been somewhere in the mini, I'll come back. The first time I pull out the yard in the lorry, which is obviously air braked, I hit the brakes and nearly smack my head on the windscreen because if you're doing it slow speed in the lorry and you bang the brake pedal really hard, it will stop. It will just
That's awesome. I remember I've pretty much up until recently only have owned manual cars, and I've only driven manual cars, and every once in a while if, something was in the shop and I had a rental, I would forget and I would put my left foot on the brake like to like downshift, and it would just like Oh man, that's funny. Um man, I was about to ask you something. Oh, you kind of mentioned you've been all over. You've daily driven the minis. It seems as if you were, and it kind of makes sense as of today. You're always going to shows, meets, kind of year round, maybe, or camping. You're just doing some sort of activity in it often. Is that kind of true? Like, what is this with
uh,
your club or just kind of
so
the
a bit of everything really. So I went to I've been to Bewley Mini Day today with the Bow Mini Club. Yes, Friday and Saturday I was at a local steam rally. I actually went there with the local Volkswagen club because the bloke that runs the Volkswagen club lives just down the road, and I got friends with him. Basically, we both had what are known as commer vans. They're sort of a British camper van, and we both had those at the same time, and that's how I got to know him. And he said, "Oh, I run the Volkswagen club," and I sort of started hanging out with them purely because I became friends with him, and yeah, now and again, if they're going to something that's not Volkswagen, sort of Volkswagen only, like the steam rallies, general classic cars, steam engines, lorries and stuff, and it's camping, so I go sort of tag along with them.
So
But
what's
I
the
mean,
what's the steam rally? It's literally like for
So it's
steam
basically
cars?
vintage steam cars, steam engines, like steam rollers, sort of
Wow.
vintage vehicles.
Oh, this is the picture where you were camping. I just clicked on the Steam Rally route. That's cool. Wow. All right, that's fun. I was gonna ask you about in your bio it says you have a 73 Commer, and I was like, what the hell is a Commer? And I looked it
Yeah,
up. I was
comma
like,
van.
that
So
thing's
the best
yeah.
way
Tell
to
me about
describe
that.
what a comma van looks like, it's like a loaf of bread on a roller skate. It handles like a cow on roller skates as well. I've not had it on the road in a while, but yeah, I've had that a long time. Um, I need to do something with it really. Once the clubman's sorted, I think that's next on the list.
So
But
it's actually a camper, or is
yeah, it's
it?
a camper van.
Are they all camper vans, or they
No,
actually
they
they
did panel
convert
vans
them?
and pickups. Mine was originally made as a well, it was made by Suntour, which I think is sort of a I don't know how they worked really. I'm guessing sort of like a coach built thing. So I'm guessing
Okay.
Suntour would have bought the commas from the factory and then fitted it out or whatnot. But that's
Yeah,
yeah, I've not had that on the road in a long time.
I looked them up. I was like, damn, that's cool. I've never seen one of those. We have a pretty big British car day here, several of them, and I mean, I could have walked by one, but I highly doubt I've seen that. That's super cool.
You don't see many of them over here, to be honest with you. They're quite sort of obscure. So
Huh.
that's sort of
Yeah,
why I
those are.
liked it, really.
Yeah, it's not running right now.
No, no, no. It hasn't run in a few years. It's in a barn at the moment, waiting to have some work done on it. Like I said, I always get distracted by something else. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with my Comma van because it just never seems to want to go anywhere.
Oh, well, you gotta just camp it at or park it at a campsite, and then you'll just be able to use it, right? Or
That's it.
pull it up in like your backyard and kind of make it like a Airbnb style. So, what kind of engines in the 83 Mini?
That is a 1275 MG Metro engine, I think, with a yeah. It's just a. It was originally the engine that came in that was in the Clubman when I bought it.
Okay.
Um, I bought the Clubman when I was restoring the Mini. Bought another engine for the Mini. So once I took the Clubman off the road and started using the Mini, there was an engine in it, but it used to smoke. I think I don't know, not sure if it's the oil stem seals or the piston rings, whatever, but it used to smoke a lot. So rather than, I mean, I took the engine then back out the Red Mini, shut the working engine that I'd taken out the club because I knew it was good and put it in there and was going to sort the other engine out, but I just still haven't done it. And that was 2016. So yeah, the engine is just the one that came with my Clubman when I bought it, basically.
Oh wow. Okay. So tell me a little about the Clubman though. So you bought it when you were restoring the Mini?
So I think I bought my Clubman. I think maybe 2012. Again, I bought that. I bought that at the right time, just before Clubman prices went crazy. That was about 1,400 quid. Put 12 months MOT and tax and stuff on it. Um, yeah, like no one wanted Clubmans then. In fact, even when I remember looking when I decided I was going to buy a Mini, and my dad was helping me, he was showing me ones on eBay, and I said I didn't really know nothing about Minis. I just used to see them driving around. I didn't know the difference between any models or anything like that. I
Right.
didn't even know they had such a massive following. If I'm honest, I didn't. I sort of wanted one because I wanted one, and I didn't really know the whole thing that sort of went with owning a Mini.
Right.
But I remember my dad showing me a picture of a Clubman. There was one on eBay, and I was like, "Oh, I want that. It looks well ugly. What's going on with that?" And yeah, when I then got a Mini and sort of doing some shows, and you sort of see what other people are doing to Minis, and you see different things, you're like, "Oh, actually, they're quite cool, just because they're a bit different."
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I decided to get one of those, and yeah, I've had that long old
So
time as well now.
that one's in the middle of a restoration right now, just kind of a long haul.
So it's yeah, basically all I need to do now is finish building the engine. I've got a load of bits stacked up for it, and put it in. But like I said, got distracted by. I always get distracted by everything. You know, it's like over COVID when we were in lockdown, I got loads done, and I thought, oh, it'll be done in no time, and then everything came back to normal again. And after not doing stuff for like a year, you want to go out and do everything, and then
Yeah.
nothing on that's happened. But yeah, I'll try and finish it off this year.
Have you ever thought, and I don't know if this is the proper terminology, have you ever thought about getting one of those old, or this could be super rare and very difficult, but like an old lorry that kind of was a car hauler type that, you saw like the
I
old,
would if I had space to store stuff. I would love an old lorry. I've always said that. Like I did,
man, that would be cool.
I didn't do many shows or anything last year because I actually got a sort of a weekend side job hobby, working for a travelling vintage fun fair, and basically it was their last year travelling. I've been going ever since I was about six. It's just a local fun fair, but they're really well known. They're in a lot of TV and film stuff, and I went and got a job working for them, and they move all the funfair equipment around with sort of 1940s, 50s, 60s, and 70s lorries, and
Right.
yes, I'd love an old lorry, but it's space. A Mini you can get away with, like you can get two of those
Yep.
on a driveway, fine. If you've got a lorry, you need a barn or a farmer with a bit of land that he wants to lend you.
Yeah, yeah. That would be cool one day if you got one kind of like those vintage ones and you can pull your minis out of it for a show. That would be cool.
The thought has crossed my mind many times. So I'd love that.
Yeah, that would be epic. That would be cool. Well, any other projects that you got going on besides the Clubman and the hopefully Commer van soon enough?
Other than helping my dad with his traveller, that's about it really. Nothing else. Nothing
Any
else in
special
the.
plans for the Traveler? Just a kind of a general restore or anything cool?
So I don't my I actually my dad bought the traveller the same time I was out looking at buying a commer van. So he's had that a long old time now, and he was basically left unsupervised and ended up buying the worst example of a mini traveller. I'll have to find some old pictures of it and put it on my Instagram that you'll ever see. The roof was peeling off, like literally right, it rusted all the way around the roof gutter, and you could literally just peel the roof off. And I was
Oof.
looking at him, I was like, "Why have you? What? Why have you done this?" He didn't even tell me, didn't speak to me about it. He just saw it, put in a bid, and I was like, "Oh my, oh, what have you done?" Um, Turns out because minis are worth have got the value of minis have gone up so much since then. He sort of it's been in the body shop. It's had a lot of welding done to it. Found a few really hard to find panels for it, but to be honest with you, like I said, because minis have just shot up in value over the last, I'd say 5, 6, 7 years. I mean, it's he probably actually did a good job buying that one because I can't remember how much he paid for it, but it wasn't a lot, and it's got some nice bits on it. Back in I think the 70s, it had been sent to Speedwell and sort of been tuned up, so it has
Oh,
some
that's
nice,
cool.
really nice spin Speedwell twin carbs on it. I think
Oh,
the head's been
awesome.
tweaked, an exhaust manifold. The exhaust is all rotten away, and we need to make another one of those. But yes, it had some nice bits on it. It was just an absolute mess of a car. It's probably the rustiest Mini you'll ever see.
Yeah, yeah.
But, but it's
It
coming along
happens.
nicely now.
It looks. Was it painted almond green? It looks like.
It is almond green, yeah.
Great
It's
color.
original colour.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Cool, cool. Well, John, I'm not sure if you've listened before, but I do a little
I have.
segment. All right, cool. I appreciate that. So, are you ready for the Patty probe?
I'm ready.
All right. For anyone that's listening that is the first time, Patty probe is a set of mini related questions. It was originally meant for a rapid fire, but we usually ramble on. So, let's see here. What is your favorite mini variant?
Oh, you know what? I've just come back from Bewley where I've been looking at a few of them, and every time I go to Bewley, normally Bewley is a glorious sunny day. Today the weather's not been that fantastic, but I've always had a fancy for a mini moke. I don't know why, because the weather over here in Blighty is always absolutely rubbish. But I don't know.
Right.
It would either be a moke or an early 1275 GT.
Yeah.
I'd really like an early GT, but I think a moke would probably take it. That's what I'd quite like.
Yeah, Moke would be. I always say I want a Moke. It's not like high on my list, but it's also something that I would really enjoy here in Southern California. I mean,
Mm.
that'd be such a cool beach cruiser around here. Um, yeah, that's a good one. Good answer. Let's see here. Have you had any other minis besides the two that you currently own?
Oh yeah, I've had loads. Some that I've just bought for parts. I bought one out of a hedge over lockdown for 30 quid that was local. It was in a farmer's bush. Pulled it out with a farmer's like tractor and it just fell apart, but there's some good bits on it. Um, yeah, I don't know, probably another few I've had for parts. Some projects that I sort of started and realised I was probably just doing too much at the same time, so got rid of. But yeah, I've had a few other minis as well.
Nice. Let's see here. A series, Honda swap, or other.
A series, and always A series.
Have you driven any other swaps?
So I haven't driven them, but someone from the Volkswagen, someone from the Mini Club had a Honda swapped one, and I went out with that, and it was okay. We went around Castle Coombe in it actually for the mini day. This was a good few years ago now. They just tend to be super fast on the straight, but they just don't. When you put a Honda engine in the front of a Mini, it loses the handling that a Mini has, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's super fast, but
Yeah.
I don't know. You just lose the sort of the fun of a Mini that you get. The Minis, I'm sure it was sort of accidental, but they're just weighted and handle so nicely. Like I don't track mine anymore, as I used to when I was a bit younger, but you could throw it into a corner and get a good bit of lift off oversteer, and as long as you keep it pinned, like, it will just pull itself back in. Whereas once you've shoved something like a Vauxhall or a Honda in there, you sort of lose the. I feel like you sort of lose that magic.
Right.
Like I said, they are
Yeah.
they are fast. I've been in a Vauxhall one as well before, and they are impressive, but it's just not my car's not built for speed. I'm quite happy just to cruise along nice and slowly so people can look at my wheels.
Yeah, I agree with that. What is your favorite mini modification? Either one that you've done or one that you might want to do.
I think well, the one I always do to every Mini I have or drive out of necessity is extend the seat back because I'm 6'2",
Oh
and without
wow.
that, I can't I can't really drive one. So that is probably I wouldn't necessarily it's my favourite, but it's the one that always ends up getting done before anything else. Um,
Necessity at least.
but I think favourite's got to be doing a brake conversion so you can put it on 10-inch wheels.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Along those lines, usually I ask 10-inch, 12-inch, or 13-inch, but I think I already know your answer. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna
it's
ask,
going to be
what's your
10. Minis are perfect on 10s, don't
they just yeah. I mean, it's not. There's definitely minis out there that have 12 or 13s, mainly 13s, because I don't think they make
they?
too
Yeah.
many 12-inch models that look really good. But yeah, man, the 10s just look so awesome. It's so unique. It's part of the mini. But along those lines, I feel like you're a little bit of a wheel whore. What's your
Yeah.
favorite mini wheel?
Um, so I really like I think they're Milli Miglia. They kind of look like clover leaves. I've got a set in the garage. They've been on my red Mini before.
Yeah,
Um,
I love those.
I've got a set of Momos, and they're sort of they got sort of four round holes in. Um, they're what started off my wheel fetish, I suppose, because when I first got into minis, like I said, I didn't really know what I was looking at, and I used to read the mini forum, and I remember seeing someone talking about them and thinking, oh, they're quite an unusual looking wheel. They kind of look like smaller Countach wheels in a way. And
Yes.
I remember seeing, basically, remember someone on the mini forum talking about them. And then I remember being at a local classic car show and seeing some for sale. And I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure that's those rare wheels. But at the time, I worked at like McDonald's and whatnot. They weren't even expensive. The bloke wanted like £100 for them,
Oh
and
wow, no.
I didn't have put £100 then when I was working at McDonald's. Minimum wage over here, which is probably like 4 quid or whatever. It was a lot of money for me then, and I ummed and ahed it about getting them because I still wasn't sure if they were the ones that this bloke had been talking about on the mini forum. And then I
Mm-hmm.
thought, you know what, I will go and buy them. Went to buy them, and he went, "Oh, someone's just bought them. They were just on the store waiting for him to come and pick them up." So I was like, "Oh." Then I got home, looked at the computer, and they were those wheels, and I was like, "Oh, I should have bought those." And then I ended up sort of I fell down the rabbit hole of looking at weird mini wheels purely because of that moment. And then yeah, I ended up being a friend of mine, Eric. Actually, he found me another set because I said, "Oh, I would like a set," and he managed to find he found me a set over from in the Netherlands, I think, and I did end up buying a set, and that is basically how I got into the fetish of buying weird, unusual 10-inch wheels.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into it. That's definitely something I look at all the time is the wheels. I think it's like the biggest thing that changes the look of your car. But right now, I'm just like, I need to get my car back on the road, and I have other things that are much more a priority. But yeah,
Wheels are
man.
always the one thing that make a big difference to the look of the car, when you put a set of wheels. But for me, I don't like, you can get some really nice looking new wheels out there, but that's, for me, this, again, it's the auto jumble digging thing. I'm not about a new set
Yeah,
of wheels. I much
100%.
prefer buying a set of old original 60s wheels, paying a bit of money to get them restored and looking
Yep.
nice. And then you've got something one that is different because if not making them, the chance of you seeing another mini with
Mm-hmm.
the same wheels on is slim.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just makes it a bit more unique. If you go and buy a set of wheels from like mini spares or whatnot, and someone else goes, "Oh, I think that looks nice," it's so easy for them to go and do the same thing. As I feel like
Right.
if you find something a bit more unusual, it just
I agree. I mean, it's
keeps it more
I think a
special,
lot.
doesn't it?
Yeah, some of the newer ones they look fine, but like I love Mambas, the original Mambas, and the
Yeah, the
new
original
ones,
Mamba.
yeah, the new ones like I can see it, but it's like something about them that just doesn't look
Yeah, no,
right.
the centre cap's too big on them. I don't like them when they got the big dish on them, but I
Son of
do
a
like
bitch, I
a
can't
set of
find the.
Mambas.
Yo, if you find some center caps at an auto jumble for a reasonable price, let me know, man, because I've talked to several people. And hey, I'm putting this out there right now. If someone has them, I've talked to so many people, and they'll either like have them, like, all right, I'll sell them to you, and then they flake out, or they want $1 million. I'm like, son of, a, don't even need like nice ones. I just want,
You just want something.
um, yeah, I just want something. But anyways, let's see here. So far, what has been the most pain in the ass job on your mini?
The one job I absolutely hate doing, and I've done once and will never do it again, was when my Clubman was on the road. When I first had it on the road, it was missing the headlining,
Oh
and
yeah,
I went to Optimize Automotive, and they done me a really nice cream one to go with the cream and black thing of the interior, and fit in a headline, and that is stressful, especially when it's white, because you take the windows out, obviously you glue everything, and then you've got to sort of pull it tight. But you're pulling it, and as you pull it, you've realised you've put like black sticky glue marks on your new headline, and you're like, "Oh
oh no.
shit!" So you're trying to wash it off, and I was like, it was just awful. You have creases
Yeah,
in it, constantly needed adjusting. I don't know how they did that on the production line, because surely like it ended up taking about 2 days of pegging it and gluing it, sticking it, and pulling it to get it looking nice. How they did that on a
seriously,
moving production line, I do not know, but it is a knack that I could not get,
that's a good
and I
point.
have no intention of trying again.
Yeah, isn't the Mark One is like kind of like just a pop in type of thing? I think,
Frame that
isn't it?
pops in,
Like,
same as the estates are, yeah.
yeah,
Which
and
is
then like
obviously
everything else
obviously
after
a
that.
much better idea.
Yeah. Why would they change that? I don't know. That's crazy. My favorite question. We'll end off here since you've had a long day at the show. But if you could have a drink, coffee, beer, tea with one mini celeb, who would it be?
Um, Probably Michael Caine, I think. So I know someone else said that not long ago, and when I'd been listening to previous, you asking these questions previously, I always thought Michael Caine would be the one because I met Paddy Hopkirk in a pub once, so I kind of
Wow,
didn't necessarily have a drink with him, but did actually meet Paddy Hopkirk in a pub. Um,
that's awesome.
Obviously, you're not going to get to meet Antagonis. Um, I think
Yeah,
Michael Caine would be the one. Maybe Rowan Atkinson as well, I suppose. But yeah, Michael Caine has
yeah.
got to be the answer.
I'm gonna
So
have to
Michael
reach.
Caine.
I'm gonna have to try to figure this out. My sister-in-law's PR guru reaching out to famous people. I'm gonna see if she can reach out and get some of these people on the pod here. That'd be epic. So, well, anything else you want the people to know? Dropped your Instagram several times, Jon Leaky,
Yeah.
Jon. Anything else you want the people to know?
No, I mean I don't really do I only do
Yeah,
Instagram. I don't do any of the other stuff. So I'm sort of quite
yeah.
old fashioned, really. Like I'm not. I do, Instagram is pretty much all I do. So that's about it. I don't have a. And my Instagram isn't.
Well,
You might not want to follow it because it isn't just car stuff. Like it is. It's just anything I find interesting on there. So randomly, like there might be like an old tractor or something that goes up on there sometimes, or something like that. So
I'd
if you're just
say if
looking
you
for
like
minis content,
vintage,
like yeah,
if
vintage
you
stuff, that's very
if you
much
like
my
vintage
vibe.
stuff, definitely follow them. It's a lot of vintage, everything, cars, um, records, vinyl, stuff like that. So definitely give them a follow. And again, I appreciate you being on, and I will catch you
Oh,
guys on the next one.
thank you for having me.